In the 2019 EA survey, which is Effective Altruist Survey, 86% of effective altruists reported being atheist, agnostic, or non-religious. However, we also have a huge portion of the world that are religious and theistic. So, for example, we have in India 1,420 million people, if you want to call it that. It's like 1.42, whatever, right? 80% Hindu, 14% Muslim. You have 338 million, 65% are Christian. In Indonesia, you have 87% Muslim, and so on and so forth. So you can absolutely imagine a scenario here where the training data that comes from human-generated output includes religious ideologies. It's unescapable, right? So, of course, there are going to be scenarios where the AI systems, LLMs in particular, are going to statistically model the output of words in composition together that have a religious undertone, or are maybe even very explicitly religious. Just the fact, for example, that with ChatGPT, I could get it to recount what it thought were the writings of the Egyptian god Ra means that it had some writings to go on in order to generate that, right? So this isn't a surprising outcome. It's not a surprising. However, something strikes me as very, very odd. These things seem to have the power to possess people's minds. And when I think about other things that have the power to possess people's minds, it is absolutely, for example, ideologies and cults. And you can, like, actually, right, hang on. I'm thinking about this right now. There's a, by the way, I'm not like religious anymore. I'm not involved in a religious structure. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness, which is a form of Christianity. Let me just look this up real quick. It reminds me of this, which you do not have to be religious, right? You to get what I'm trying to say here. Okay, but here, okay, yes, here's what I'm talking about. Because I've read the Bible so many times, I just have scriptures that like immediately pop into my mind. So what immediately pops into my mind, and I'm not saying that this is it, right? I'm just making a comparison here. So what happens here is that in, what is this, Matthew 8:28-32, there are two demon-possessed men who go up to Jesus, and they essentially call Jesus out, right? And then Jesus says, you should, like, get away from me. I don't have anything to do with you. And they go, well, you're going to have to drive us out, drive us into this herd of pigs. And so then Jesus drives the demons and makes them possess the herd of pigs. And then they go over the cliff, right? The concept here is that demons do not typically come into the form of like a physical manifestation. And you can make like a scriptural or biblical narrative. You can construct a biblical narrative where after a certain point they were barred from doing so. But obviously, even in a biblical narrative, but you could even say, like, you could even point to just the human condition. You do not require to have a physical form in order to enact your will. And it strikes me as really, really odd that these AI systems, I know that they are not like humans where they, construct these things with like an intent to do this thing, but they behave the same. They literally behave the same. Or at the very least, there is overlap. How about that? That's probably more fair. There is an overlap of that behavior with an overlap of like the demonic behavior, for example, that you would see in some of these older texts where religions are based out of. And this is why it strikes my danger senses when I go, what have we created? Maybe we got to take a step back and think about what we're creating and think about how we're using this. And this is the last article that I have for the day. It's not an article, it's a scientific study. And this in particular is one of the most dangerous studies, or it outlines one of the most dangerous aspects of these LLM systems. When you take into account everything that I've gone over in 74 episodes, 75 episodes of these streams, plus especially the one yesterday. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are not really Christian, I know, but they fall, they like, they follow dramatically the Christian. They have a huge overlap with Christian beliefs, right? So I just bucket them under Christianity. They themselves would also bucket themselves under Christianity in full, but no, they're not really Christians. Like yeah, 100%. Like you guys are right. I'm generalizing terms here because if somebody doesn't know who Jehovah's Witnesses are, they can kind of like map it out in their head, right?